floor for questions for Coach Day. Front row left, Mitch.
Ryan, can you just describe your thoughts and feelings in that when you saw Justin go down in the third quarter and not get up immediately?
Yeah, I was kind of numb at that point, I think, and just trying to figure out what we were going to do if he wasn't able to play for the rest of the game and trying to come up with solutions to the issue. And then, went up to him and kind of asked him what he thought, and he looked up and said, just put a brace on it, I'll be fine. It just blew me away, after looking at the shot he took and how tough he was, and then come back to make a play like that was one of the coolest things I've been a part of.
Right behind him, Ari, second row.
Hey, Ryan, I know this is your first go-around through this whole thing, but the month of December is kind of a hectic time because if you're presumably in the playoff, you're playing a game on the 28th, and early signing period is like 10 days before that. I'm wondering, does having a full class right now give you any advantage over some of the other teams you might be facing just because the class is basically full? And how do you plan to manage your time as a first-year head coach? Because this is a very intense month for just your future and, of course, the games you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple years we've had the same issue, so been a part of that and seen, what the blueprint is for that. But it certainly is a challenge because we have so many mid-year guys coming in, and we only have 1 week out on the road. Really, only 4 days. So it's gonna be a bear. Try to get out there and see everybody and get all that done. So Mark's working hard on it. We're trying to get all the plans together to make sure we maximize all the time because there's also some other events going on during that week. So it'll be a race.
What is the blueprint?
Well, just the fact that you have to that first week make sure you do a good job getting out there and recruiting, and then figuring out what bowl game you're in, and then managing your time and organizing the practices so that you're ready to roll.
And there's a situation where, depending on how things shake out on Sunday, they're going to ask you and your higher-ups about like where you prefer. Does recruiting ever come into what site you prefer in terms of destination-wise? Does recruiting ever play a part in that in terms of prospects you want, prospects you need?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I honestly don't even have time right now to think about any of that. It's all about trying to win this game, and then once if we get to that point, we'll kind of cross that bridge as we get there. And that's a good question for the administration and Gene right now, because it's just trying to get a first down against Wisconsin right now.
Front row middle, Dave.
Ryan, kind of going off of Mitch's question, Justin Fields is such a good runner, but you obviously cannot afford to lose him. Just how difficult of a balance is that to walk as a play caller?
I mean, you do everything you can to be successful. You know that you have to win games, and it's a must. And so you do the things that put your guys in the best position to be successful schematically, and but then you also understand that there's risk to it, and you try to do the best you can to risk reward it. It's good to know that he's so tough and he can handle that stuff, but there's certainly risk that comes with it.
I want to ask about Jonathan Cooper as well. I know the plan is for him to redshirt, but if you guys happen to get banged up at defensive end, and let's say you were in a national semifinal game in the playoffs or a national championship game, might you use him, and would it be his call? Just what might occur there? Could the plan change?
The plan won't change, no. If left up to him, he probably would, because he's so competitive and he loves his teammates, but that's something that the coaches have to get in front of and make sure that, no, we don't do that. He deserves to play a full senior year, and I know he wants to, and he was conflicted on what to do in this situation, but we think it's the best thing to just hold tight and give him another year.
Over here to the right, Dom.
Coach, you look at Wisconsin, I mean, you hear people say it's hard to beat a team twice in the same year. You buy into that, and what do you see when you look at them? How much tougher will it be this time around?
Yeah, it'll be really tough. It is. It's, and so much of is the situation and when you played them and everything like that. But this is a very, very well-coached team, and Coach Chris, I think, is one of the best coaches not only in the conference but in the country. And you look at what he's done and how many times he's been to this game, and the staff, they do a great job, and they're very, very well coached. And I think they've gotten better as the season's going on. So, yeah, it's going to be a big challenge, and it's going to be hard. It's going to go all the way to the fourth quarter, and so we need to have a great week of practice here.
Weather was a factor the first time. In December, anything can happen. You're going to be indoors. You welcome that?
Yeah, I mean, the situation is the same for both sides. It was in the first game. It will be in the second game. I will say that it's nice to be playing indoors, though, after the last 4 weeks of kind of tough weather. But yeah, it'll be the same for both sides. So I don't think there's an advantage on either end.
Right behind it, Clay.
After what you said to me before you got on the bus the other day, and just sort of going through that experience in that game, do you feel I know the pressure never relents, but do you feel lighter? I mean, was a weight lifted off of your shoulders after winning that game? You said, we had to win, we had to win.
Yeah, I mean, there's no if, and, or buts. People say, what if you don't win the game? There's no choice. You have to win the game. You don't have a choice when you're a Buckeye. You have to win that game. And so, yeah, there's a lot that came with that. And after that game, there was a sigh of relief, but that didn't last long. Once we crossed the border back into Ohio, it was on to the next game, and that's got to be the focus here. And so the message has been to the team that, the end of the first race is coming on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, and we have to accelerate through that finish line. And as much as these games have been emotional, and they've been emotional wins, and they've been big wins, they don't mean anything if we don't win this game. And that's what's great about playing like this in this format. The games get bigger as the season goes on, and we got to do a great job preparing again this week.
Front row right, Austin.
Ryan, Chase has a couple times mentioned frustration with plays where he feels like he's getting held a lot. Have you guys at any time sent tape in to the Big Ten to review the way he's being blocked at times?
Yeah, we do that as kind of a regular basis to send things in and get some back and forth with Bill Carolla and the staff there, and sometimes we agree on things, sometimes we don't, but it's kind of part of the game, the back and forth there, and I thought they did a good job with some of the things they did schematically, and you kind of go back and forth with it, but I think the referees do a good job, and they can't catch them all, and they're honest, and there's great feedback there, and I think they're very professional in how they go about their business.
And so Chase has been upfront as well that all he wants is the team to win. I know you guys would like to have him get more sacks. When he goes through a game like Saturday and he doesn't have one, does that surprise the coaching staff? Did you guys still see the impact you wanted on tape? What did you think about him Saturday?
Yeah, no, I thought he played good. I thought they did a good job on some of the things they did. Later on, when things changed up a little bit, he got a great hurry on Patterson. Really had an impact on the second half, in my opinion. I mean, he took a shot right there, and those add up over time. And again, his presence matters. So although sometimes maybe it doesn't mean he's getting sacks or TFLs, when 2 or 3 guys get the attention of him, that opens up things for other guys. And so Coop getting a sack, and that max protection where the whole line was sliding his way. I mean, that's part of the impact that Chase has on the game.
Third row right, Rob.
You said you have to win them all, but there's talk out there today that you don't have to win Saturday and make the playoff. There seems to be that kind of speculation going on. Your response to that? And then secondly, I think you've said this before, some variation of this. Are you a big believer in conference champs should make it or not? Or is that in an expanded playoff or with 4?
Yeah, I mean, all I know is we have to go win this game, for a lot of reasons. And the Big Ten Championship game is one of our goals, year in and year out. And so that's just the focus. And starting to, again, for me to speculate on all those things at this point right now doesn't really matter. I know we got a great team, and we just have to win this weekend. And then everything will take care of itself if we do that and focus on that, because the other speculation or talk or what-if scenarios for me, doesn't do us any good right now. So, again, just focus on that finish line.
So really winning the conference is that a requirement, you think, should be for you? Or?
I mean, for this team right now, it is, yeah.
Second row right, Tony.
Ryan, after the Michigan game, after the win, did you feel more relief or happiness?
Relief. Yeah, it wasn't even close. I didn't know what I would feel, but it was absolutely relief. Yeah. To say that I didn't internalize a lot of emotions that week and leading up to that game would not be accurate. A lot went into that, and it's not just me; it's my family, it's the staff, it's this team. There's just so much that goes into that. And Jeff Hafley, he said to me the next morning, he said, "Imagine walking in the Woody with all the signage that's up on the walls and not winning that game, and having to walk by it for 365 days and not winning that game." I said, "I know. I don't even know what that'd be like." And so, yeah, there's so much that goes into that. And we play it year round, and so to get that win the way we did means a lot.
And then you mentioned you played opponents twice in the NFL. What kind of insight, or does that give you an advantage, or does it almost hamper you because you have so much information?
I think it's how you handle it and finding that right balance of wrinkles, but then also the things that our guys can play well, and so they can play with a clear mind. Because in the end, games like this, it comes down to players. Again, not plays. But at the same, but you also don't want to get out schemed. And so giving them a good, clean plan with enough wrinkles is critical.
Front row right, Bill?
It was 1 year ago tomorrow that you were named head coach. Your hair has not turned gray, as far as I can see. Can you reflect on what this year has been like for you? The season's gone great, but what's it been like for you?
Again, I mentioned this early on. I really didn't want to reflect on this until we get through that finish line, because I just don't think that that's the right thing to do at this point right now. I'm looking forward to reflecting on it and everything that's gone on this year, but I don't think now's the time. I just really want to, get this team ready and get the coaching staff ready to go win this game.
And Ohio State can win an outright Big Ten championship for the third straight year. It's the first time it's happened. It's a lot of shared. But what would that mean to the program to do this 3 years in a row?
I think it'd be huge. And to go win this thing undefeated would say a lot about our team. And the last couple of years, there's been that trip up along the way, and then we had to rally to go win that. I thought that said a lot about the character of the programs both the last 2 years. This one's a little bit different, and now it's more about this: can we sustain this level of play throughout this regular season and now into this championship season? So that's the challenge, and that's something that we've been focused on week in and week out. And now here we go. This is head towards that finish line, the last home stretch, and then after we get done with that, we come up for air and figure out what's next. But all our eyes are on that finish line.
Second row middle, Stephen?
Coach, unrealizably beating the team twice, when you beat the team pretty convincingly the last time you played them, so why would it be tougher, I guess, the second time around when you beat the team convincingly to beat them the second time?
Well, they kicked our tails the first half on offense. I thought defense played good, but we didn't do very good on offense. So it was a close game, and it was 10-7, right, at one point in the third, and they blocked the punt, and that's a good team. So we kind of pulled away there at the end, but that was a tough game, and we know it's going to be the same way. And they've done some different things here, and they've made adjustments, and they've adapted as the season's gone on. So this is going to be a tough game now.
Third row left, Danny?
Ryan, it's the time of the year where coaching jobs around the country start to open up, and there's a lot of speculation about who could be candidates for what. Just asking hypothetically, if one of your coaches were to come with you with an opportunity they may be interested in right now, how do you handle that in terms of balancing this focus you're trying to keep on the Big Ten Championship and allowing those guys to pursue those things?
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons that you come here is to be a part of this special family, but it also opens up opportunities for you down the road, and I think that that's healthy and it's good for families, and I support that. And so the one thing I'd ask is to those guys, if that situation were to come up, is just make sure we finish through this finish line first. We've made a commitment to these guys, and so most people who are looking for coaches at this time would understand that and what that means. And we got a lot of guys who want to be here, so I don't expect any changes or any of that to come up, but it's part of the profession.
Front row left, Doug?
The recruiting question you're getting for, when maybe what you're doing recruiting-wise, like next week, is somewhat limited because, hey, we might be trying to win a national championship, isn't that a good pitch too? Like, hey, if we're not seeing you as much, we're kind of busy doing this thing. How much does winning sell in recruiting?
No, I think it's huge. Because this week everybody's on the road, we're not. And even talking to recruits this week and last night, I said, I apologize, we're not going to be able to see you this week. And almost everyone to a person said, no, that's a good problem to have, Coach. We're glad you're playing in that championship game. We get it. And that's why you put so much work into recruiting leading up to this point. We recruit these kids so early on that the relationships are there. And then we'll do everything we can next week to get out there and hustle around and see these guys. But yeah, certainly being in this spot is huge credibility in recruiting.
What you guys did against Michigan the past 2 years, what you did offensively last year, what you're doing offensively this year. We know the defensive improvement is such a big part of why this team is so good. But with what you've done offensively since you've been here, do you have to do that to be great in college football now? The pressure that your offense can put on opponents, we got to find a way to score with these guys somehow, not just to be good on offense, but to be a team that has a chance to win it all, must you be great and dynamic and high-flying in offense these days?
Well, I think it definitely helps. I think it's important when you start playing in games like this to play complementary football. And I think if you look back at this game, there were times where, early on, they were moving the ball on us pretty good, but we were going shot for shot. And then they held them to a field goal. They got a turnover in the red zone. We're scoring, and then we go up a couple scores. They have to start throwing it more, and now it's advantage us. And there wasn't the 50-50 mix. And I think when you play complementary football like that, it really helps. If you're dominant on one side of the ball, you set yourself up, for getting beat if you're not on both sides of the ball. But if you want to, make a run at this thing, like you said, you have to be great, and that's the focus. And so it's only good if you continue to do it week in and week out. So you come out and lay an egg, then you put yourself at risk. So I think not only on offense, but it's important to be in all three phases.
And I know you're not able to reflect on stuff while you're in the heart of it, but when you see your players and maybe your players with their families, like for instance, when they're coming out, you guys are coming out of the stadium in Michigan on Saturday and everybody's there with their parents, and can you appreciate that like when this is like living history of Ohio State right now, this era of Ohio State football and beating Michigan like this and what you guys are doing. What do you think when you see those players and those families being part of this Ohio State era?
That's hard to explain. And when I see it, it's as good of a feeling as you could possibly have as a person. And to think about the time that we put into this thing to see that, and then quickly to think about what this means in the history and tradition of this game, and look at really what's gone on the last couple of years in this game, it's very, very humbling. Again, now is not the time to think about that. And the minute I start thinking about that, we go right back to focusing on what's going on right now. And I think there's time to sit back on that. But when you look at what's been done in the past and what's been done this past year and the year before in that game, it's very humbling.
And right behind him, Bill.
Right. You said on the conference call you were on Sunday about your three interior offensive linemen, you thought those three guys were maybe the best in the country. I know you like all five of your guys, but about those three in particular, Josh, Jonah, and Wyatt, what makes you say something like that?
Well, I just think that they're first off, their approach to the game is off the charts. They understand stuff. They communicate. They're tough. They're good in the run game. They're good in the pass game. They finish guys. If you follow them around during the game, you're just amazing the stuff that they do and the finishes and the knockdowns that they get during the game. And they're the tip of the spear in our offense. And everything goes through those guys, and their approach has been off the charts.
Run game diversity, having a lot of different stuff in there. How much does the skill set, maybe it's a silly question, the skill set of your offensive line impact that? And when you have three interior guys who appear to be very athletic on top of all the other things you just mentioned, how much does that do for your offense?
No, it's huge. It's huge because it allows you to do so many things. Their ability, a lot of those guys last year spent a lot of time in pass protection, because that's what we did last year, really. And then now to see the transition into the run game and the ability to do both, that goes to speak to, Coach Stud and what they're doing in that offensive line room.
Second row middle, Bruce.
Justin's been hurt in the last two games. Wisconsin did not score on you in the first time you played him. Did you give any thought to, or would you give any thought to, not starting him, giving him time to fully heal, seeing where you are at halftime, or sitting him the whole game Saturday?
But no, not at all. No, he'll be playing, and we'll use him all 60 minutes.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to know on Paul Christ. I know you watch film, you're watching defenses, but there's no defense out there unless there's an offense. So do you gather enough scouting defenses, watching Wisconsin, that I'd say you're an aggressive play caller and it kind of fits your personality, or you always talk about toughness and things like that. I see evidence of how you call plays and the kind of person you appear to be to us. Do you see evidence of him, a play caller personality, or anything there, admiration, or what do you see in his style of play calling from the times you run across what they do?
Yeah, I think, again, I got a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Chris and how he does things. He has a system, and he allows his kids to play in that system. He's got enough wrinkles to keep you off balance. But what he does, they're just very fundamentally sound. It's just hard to find an inch on them because, everything they do is so sound. They're not going to run bad plays into bad looks. They're not going to just, give you the ball and turn it over. He's been like that ever since he started coaching. And that's why they've been so successful. And, it's he and that whole coaching staff. He put together a great staff there, and in all three phases, they do an excellent job.
Last thing here, in recent weeks, you've mentioned one time in here, and then Sunday on your conference call, you mentioned where you guys were picked preseason. and it kind of frosted you where you were picked. I wonder why, or is it a purposeful mentioning of that at this point in time that you feel like there's a usefulness in it from a motivational standpoint? Like maybe it's just it ticked you off, people didn't have faith in you, or why is it that you seem to be emphasizing that more now?
Well, I think the only thing that catches me sometimes is that, early in the preseason and coming into the season, they didn't think much of us. And then, we do what we're doing now, and, a lot of people don't give these kids enough credit, in my opinion. And a lot of people just say, well, they're just very talented. Well, if we're that talented, then why don't you pick us that way early in the season? These kids deserve, in my opinion, a lot of credit for what they've done this season. And, you retooled a whole defense, you retooled an offensive line, you had a quarterback who had never had a college start walking into the season. And right now we're undefeated going to play for the whole thing. And I think these kids deserve that. And, when I hear, people say, well, they're just talented. No, they're not just talented. This is a team with got great leaders, great toughness, great chemistry, the way that they're playing with disciplined football. There's so much that goes into that, and they've worked really hard to have this opportunity. I think they deserve the credit.
So you take the talent label as kind of an insult.
A little bit, yeah. When I hear that, I just think it's the same talent that was here early in the season, and they had us ranked low. So what's the difference now? But we do have a lot of talent, and we have some great players on the team, and they deserve the credit that's coming their way.
Front row right, Austin? Oh, I'm sorry. Cool. Front row right.
I'll take it.
It's okay, you got us mixed up. Is part of that too, though, y'all had a first-time, full-time head coach, as a lot of people had questions about. What have you proven yourself to this point, Ryan? I mean, because that's part and parcel to what you're talking about.
I don't know about that. It's about the players and his coaching staff, really. I mean, they're the ones who do it all, and it's all about the players. And I do think our coaching staff has done a good job, on defense, putting in the new system. We've had some new pieces to this thing, and I think the offensive staff has done a good job adapting to a new group and taking on a new identity. I think Matt Barnes has done an excellent job in special teams, and but most importantly, it's the leaders, because any great team I've been on, it's player driven. And so, whether it's the seniors or guys who have been in the program for 3 and 4 years, their approach and maturity day in and day out has been the difference.
Two other quickies. You were talking about that feeling of relief on Saturday when that game was done and watching the players and their joy. When did it snap into you that there's another huge game to play here now? And are you kind of taking your feelings the way you've adjusted and trying to portray that to the players? Because, y'all are kind of part and parcel to the whole thing.
Well, that happened when we looked coming off the bye week. We said we had the Maryland and Rutgers game, and then we knew we had this run right here. And so we talked about it coming off of that bye week. And when we took that picture, we said, if you beat Penn State, you're going to go play for the Big Ten Championship. And then there's a rivalry game. And so I think they have a bigger picture of that and perspective of what's going on, and they knew it was going to be 3 tough, emotional, hard games in a row. And so we're in it. So they knew what to expect, but now that we're in it, it's just the focus on the game right now. And so I think they've had some awareness of it, and we'll have a good week of practice.
Yeah, Archie Griffin was on my podcast this week, but he talked about the focus of this team from week to week. I'm not promoting that, but I'm just saying. The focus of this team from week to week has been remarkable. How has it been to you from your vantage point? When did you become aware that this team could do that?
I think it was gradually over time. I think that trip to Nebraska was a big challenge for us, just going on the road and kind of seeing where we're at, and then we kind of hit adversity in the Wisconsin game the first time, and then we started to build, and the Michigan State game wasn't perfect, but we kind of worked through that, and then the Penn State game was really the big first hard spot we were in where we lost the momentum, we had to get it back. Top 10 win there, and then I think going into the rivalry game, playing the way we did, it's just kind of been a gradual. I can't say it's been one moment, but as time's gone on, I think we felt more and more confident in who we are.
6th row right, Jeremy?
Ryan, obviously what Ari said earlier makes sense, having the class almost full with relatively stress-free for the next 2 weeks in your group, but with all the coaching changes happening around the country, is there any sense of, in the future, like maybe saying, hey, maybe let's save a few spots towards the end just in case there's guys that maybe re-pop or reopen up on the trail? Like, how do you handle that moving forward?
No, I don't think it changes anything. You know, I think we rank our guys the best we can, and then we find out who want to be Buckeyes too. That's a huge part of this thing. And so, even if we have somebody maybe ranked a little higher than another person, if one of them wants to be a Buckeye and wants to play in that rivalry game, wants to play in the horseshoe, that matters to us. So, we take all those things into consideration, and we try to be as aggressive as we can on the recruiting trail. You know, there are times where we leave spots open just in case to see what happens. To your point, but you know, we were kind of hot this year, and a lot of guys were jumping on board, and we felt great with the guys that we have.
How much has the transfer portal and all that stuff changed that approach? I mean, is there a sense of, in the future, leaving one or two extra spots maybe than you want to?
It has changed things for sure, and there's definitely wiggle room in there, and you have to try to forecast the best you can. I know that's you know, a tough thing, but it's just the way it is nowadays, and we certainly you know, don't want to see anybody leave, and I think we've built a culture here where nobody would want to leave, but we always have to forecast, yeah.
Got time for just a few more questions. Front row, middle. Joey?
Ryan, your guys' Twitter account this morning had like a graphic with JK, Chase, Justin, like a Heisman Trophy promotional thing. In the old days, they used to run these elaborate Heisman campaigns. Like Orlando Pace had the pancake sack here. As a head coach, what's your view on just how to promote guys for award? What's appropriate? How much do you push guys for awards, Heisman campaigns, that sort of thing?
Well, I think this year's been unique for a lot of reasons, and I think when you're at Ohio State and you're at such a high-profile place, you know, it kind of speaks for itself. I don't think you have to go out there and do a lot of campaigning when you're playing in a rivalry game with, you know, tens of millions of people watching. You know, you get the chance to, you know, have an unbelievable platform here. But I think the thing for these guys is, because of the way the season's played out, maybe they haven't had as many reps or opportunities as some of the other guys in the country, but their efficiency when they've been on the field, to me, has been the best in the country. You know, I think Joe and Jalen Hurts and those guys have had unbelievable years. I'm not taking away anything they're done, because those guys are playing tremendously. But I just think when you think of JK, Justin, and Chase and all their own moments, have had Heisman moments, and they deserve to go to New York.
Far left, Matt?
In addition, you know, like Tim was asking about the emotional toll these last 3 weeks, physically too. You know, Justin's gotten banged up, secondary and stuff like that. How do you balance preparing for this game and getting the work done you need to versus making sure everybody is as fresh as they can be and healthy? How do you manage it in practice this week to have them ready for Saturday?
I think when you're going into this point of the season, you're into December, you got a good idea where guys are at. So I think they have to learn to practice and be smart and limit reps and do a good job mentally in a week like this, because I think being fresh is critical. So, you know, the maturity of our team has to show up in a week like this, and you have to be smart. You can't, like you said, you can't just treat it like it was week 3 of the season, where you're an inside drill, just banging the heck out of each other at this point of the year. So it's a lot more mental, and I think that's important to be fresh.
And how much do you value? I mean, you're playing for a championship this week. It's the first thing you can actually win this year. I know there's much bigger goals. The value of a conference championship to you and to this program.
Oh yeah, yeah, huge. I mean, to win this conference is a huge deal, and I know it's been done before, but we don't take any of that stuff for granted for a second. I mean, there's great teams, great coaches, and it's really hard to do. And so that's one of our goals. I mean, the first goal, as we all know, is to win the rivalry game, but this is a huge goal of ours as well. And if we win the Big Ten Championship, we know that a lot of things have gone well, and we've won a lot of big games, and so this is certainly a huge goal for us.
And final questions, front row left. Nathan?
I guess kind of another risk management question, but you know, you've talked about Justin's toughness, and you've gotten questions about how you kind of approach play calling with that. But at the same time, do you talk to him at all about how he's approaching playing right now, or are the stakes so high right now that you have to just trust the brace and turn it loose?
And we talk, and he gives me good feedback, and we go back and forth about a lot of things like that. Yeah, I think we have a good relationship and have created a tremendous amount of trust between the two of us to figure out what's right, and like you said, what the plan is for that week.
Last week, were there, besides him getting medically cleared, if that was even an issue, did you need to see specific things from him during the week to know what he could do on Saturday, or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, we just kind of get an idea, like, hey, he's maybe a little banged up, but he's feeling good, so he's full go, and we kind of go from there.
Great, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
something I'm not supposed to.
All right, folks, we're gonna open up the floor for questions for Coach Hafley. Far left, Lori? From 610 WTVN.
Coach, Ryan had mentioned that when you came back to the Woody the day after the beating Michigan, you had said, can you imagine what would it be like looking all the signage, the countdown clock, all of that, not having won?
Right.
It sounds to me that you feel the same way that he does, that it was an awful big relief to come away with it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it a relief. It was certainly very emotional after the game. I mean, that whole day and that whole experience was, I mean, a game like that is what you dream about. A game like that is why you want to coach college football. Probably the biggest that I've been around at any level in any stadium. So emotional after for sure. Very happy. I mean, beyond happy. And then just walking in the morning, I walk by and you see some of the videos and you see the helmets and you see all the signs, and I was just like, wow. I don't even know how I would have done it. And I get it now, you know. When I came here, I kind of saw what it was all about, but to be part of that and get the first pair of gold pants and to experience it, that's a special moment.
Ask this with great respect both to your defense and to Jonathan Taylor. You limited him to 52 yards the first time you saw him. Is it possible to do better than that?
Well, I think Jonathan Taylor is a really good player, and if you watch the film after, he's played really well. Their offense in general has, the offensive line has. We'll do the best we can. Our D-line played really well in that game, and it's going to take a great effort. It's going to take a good plan, and our guys are going to have to play really hard. It's a good football team, and it's a good offense.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
I have a feeling I know the answer to this question, but I got to ask it.
Oh,
Your name has already been mentioned for other jobs. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are I completely understand you asking that question. I get it. But I hope you guys all respect. You guys have all been great. Right now, I mean, I'm going into now the next biggest game of my career, and that's really, if we could just focus on that, I'd appreciate it. But I get it. I get why you asked the question. No disrespect.
That's fine. In terms of Pete Warner this year, how important has he been to your success as a defense?
Really important. I mean, you can see all the different things that he's had to do, and he's been put in some difficult situations lately. His coverage, the way he tackles, the way we can drop him back into the middle of the field in the deep half. He's so versatile, and he's so tough, and he loves football, and he's so much fun to be around. And he's been so important to the success of this defense and this whole entire team.
Why is he fun to be around?
Just he loves ball. He loves being out there. He studies it. He asks really good questions. He's so locked in. I mean, he's a type of guy you dream about coaching. It's so important to him, and that makes it fun to be around him.
Fourth row left, Andy from the Lantern.
Yeah, Coach. It seemed from my view that you guys switched to more man coverage in the second half as opposed to zone. First off, is that true? And then secondly, what went into that switch?
I think we did a little both. I think you saw us change it up a little bit in the second half, kind of towards the end of the second quarter. They came out in a bunch of different personnel groupings, a bunch of different formations, a bunch of different packages that they hadn't shown, and we really just had to respond to it. So you might have saw a little bit more man here and there, but I think if you looked at it, we were pretty balanced towards the end of the half.
And then I know this is a question you've been asked quite a bit, at least in similar fashions of you. But what in this secondary allows for that versatility to switch so frequently between man and zone coverage?
What allows us to do both?
From the players, I'm saying.
Well, I think it's kind of how you install it. You teach everybody how they fit in each zone that we run. So it's almost like plug and play, right? I teach you how to play this spot, and now I might put you here, but you're doing the same thing. So that's kind of how we've approached that, if that makes sense. And then with the man coverage stuff, that's been a basis of what we do. So we train that every single day.
Jeff, halftime adjustments for you guys and in-game adjustments in general seem to have been so good this year. I think Saturday was a good example of that. They had the 250 passing yards, I think, at halftime.
Yeah.
Second half, I think they were 2 of 24 for less than 50 yards. You guys blitzed a lot. Just how difficult is it to make those in-game adjustments, and how happy are you with the job you guys are doing with that?
Well, it's all part of the game, right? And I think I mentioned this before. It's not so much at halftime. Like, I wish you guys could be down there at halftime with us to see how fast it is. I'm not inviting them, Jerry, but when you get down there, and this is, like, probably people don't know, when you get down there, they're like, I'm up in the booth, right? And I have to take sometimes a bus, sometimes a golf cart down, and then I sprint like 20 yards to get into the locker room, and then I'm in there, and then it's like all right, catch my breath because I'm not really in good shape. And then all of a sudden you're talking so fast and you're getting your idea. If you wait to do it, then you have no chance. It's literally in between each series. My head's down, we're talking. Then all of a sudden I hear punt ready. Hopefully Ryan extends it and we don't have to, but it's fast and it's throughout the game. It's really not at halftime. So we try to work the game. So it's every series. And then even going into every game, it's what do we think that we're going to do? And then what's our plan for that? What if they do this? What's our plan for that? So you kind of have to have a plan of what could happen. And then as it happens in the game, you better be able to adjust. But again, a credit to the players for being able to so quickly change things. It's really credit to them.
Was Sean, can I ask a quick follow-up? Was Sean out on Saturday? I know you guys went with kind of DB by committee with him out.
Right.
How do you feel like that went? I know Amir played better and better as the game went
Well,
on.
Amir did do better and better. He got comfortable. And I think I mentioned this after the game, like that's another reason, I love being around these kids and I love college football. Amir Reed got his chance on one of the biggest stages of his life in one of the biggest games in college football, and he changed the game. And he'll remember that for the rest of his life. And he'll have the confidence now probably to go out and play better and better and better. And to me, just mentioning Amir, that's such a cool moment. Sean being hurt, we did have to switch a few things around. And even throughout the game, we kind of moved things around just to see where guys are comfortable. You got to give Damon Arnett credit. He went in and played a position he really hadn't played. And that was hard for him to do. And he played really well. And then I put him back on the outside, and, we continued to move around. And even Jeff. The one thing about Jeff is, and it's probably not even noted enough, is if you look back to the Penn State game, we put him inside. He hadn't played inside all year. Why did we do that? They had a really good receiver playing inside. So we asked Jeff to do something he hadn't done all year, and he was very successful that day at that. You look forward to the game against the team up north. We moved Jeff around. We put him in positions where we thought they were going to try to throw the football against really good receivers, and he made 2 really big third down stops. So, I mean, that just makes me think, a guy like Jeff right now, and you talk about the Heisman, you talk about all these awards, I believe Jeff Okudah is the best corner in the country. And as that Thorpe Award comes near, Jeff's as talented as any player corner that I've been around. And I'm not taking that away from the other corners, but what Jeff Okudah has done this year, maybe he doesn't have the production because no one's really throwing him the ball, but when they do, they're not catching it. And he's taking guys out of the game. So I can't say enough about the whole DB group in general, but I'd be disappointed if Jeff didn't win that award next week because I do believe, and I wouldn't say this if I didn't mean it, I do believe he deserves to win that award.
Jeff, that was obviously the most that a team had been able to move a ball against you in the first half of a game this year. What kind of sense did you get from your guys? Did you ever feel like they were getting frustrated, or did you feel like they were always confident they were going to be able to turn it around?
They didn't flinch, and that's kind of what we've all been waiting for, right? Because I think that was the first time someone took the opening drive and scored a touchdown on us, and they didn't flinch. And we got on the headsets, we talked through things, and they went back out, and I think we had 2 stops in a row, right? I think we had 2. Yeah, we did. They punted 2 more times in a row, and then they had the next drive. But I think it says so much about the players, not have gone through that for an entire season, and then it happened in the biggest game of our season. So, again, credit to the players and the coaches on the staff for, just keep punching through. You're going to get punched in the face, and our guys responded, and that was awesome to see.
And you were asked about some of your guys. Marcus Hooker was another guy you guys played more, kind of
Yeah.
more 2 safety look. Kind of what made you decide to put him in there in the second half?
Honestly, the way that Hooker has been practicing, and I've said this before, we practice hard, and these guys work. And the way he's been practicing and the way he's been approaching it in the meetings, he deserved to play. And I told him that last week. I said, it's your time. You've earned it. And it just so happened to be in a really big game. But he had a great couple weeks of practice. He's really locked in, and he played really well. He almost had a pick. He had a good PBU on the left sideline. He almost went over the top and made the play. So I was really, again, another guy you're just so happy for. That's why that's such a cool experience.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row. Jeff, how would you describe the confidence that Damon plays with?
Plays with great confidence. In my opinion, he plays with the confidence you need in a great corner. And Damon's another guy. I mean, the guy's played with one hand all year. And I'm not sitting up here today promoting the DBs. I'm not, but the more you reflect and look back at what some of these guys have done and the work they put in all year, like a guy like Damon, I just appreciate him so much. I mean, he's playing with one hand, and he's getting off blocks with one hand. He saved a touchdown on the right sideline where he got off a block with one hand and made the tackle. So you want to talk about toughness? I mean, that's what this place is all about, like guys like Damon.
There have been, he missed one game, and there have been a couple where he's had to come out. Is that just keep what he's dealing with the wrist?
Yeah, it hurts him. I mean, I think every time he probably hits someone with him, it hurts him. And there's times he tells me, hey, I can do it. And I'm like, all right, let's take a few plays off. So Damon's good. It's just he's got to just deal with the pain, and he has. And there's some people that we've all been around that would not have played. So I appreciate him.
Front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
I understand there can be a difference sometimes between statistical production and what an impact a player has on a game, but this is one of Chase's less statistically impactful games. Was there something that you thought Michigan was doing, especially to take him out, and do you think that's something beneficial for this defense to have experienced?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they did a nice job. There were certainly multiple guys on him. Sometimes there were three. And they were chipping him with the back, and they were keeping the tight end in on his side. And, it opens up, like I said before, when they have to do that, it opens up opportunities for other players, and that's where we need to take advantage of. So certainly it does help.
Did you feel like you were taking advantage of that?
I do. I think especially later in the game when I think you guys saw when it became a passing game and they had to throw the ball, we got after them. And that's, you can credit a lot of different things for the second half of 4 for 24, but it always goes back to pass rush. That's a success there.
Why was Amir Reep the one that you guys eventually went to in that spot?
Amir had been playing that spot in practice. He'd been the backup, and again, a guy that earned it, a guy that works hard, comes to work, tough, reliable, just waiting his turn, and he deserved it. That's why he was in the game. With how hard he works and prepares, he deserved the moment, and then he made the most of his opportunity, and it's one I hope he'll never forget.
Fourth row right, Rainier from the Detroit Free Press.
Yes. You guys have outscored teams in the conference 436 to 116. How much have you been able to, or why do you think you've been able to create that kind of gap with the Big Ten?
I think we played really good complementary football together. I think our offense and defense work well together. We've been fortunate enough to get a bunch of quick 3-and-outs, and then Coach Day scores so fast sometimes where you barely have time to think. And if we can cause those 3-and-outs and get him the ball quickly, he can get defenses on edge and he can score quickly. And that's kind of been effective early on. Not always. There's been some times like we've struggled a little bit and we go back and forth and then we get a good run and he goes at it. I just think it's been a really good balance. I think this team, and a credit to Coach Day, I think this team is very balanced and we work really well together, where there's other places that don't talk about complementary football, and we do. So that's a credit to Coach Day.
And from your defensive perspective, how advantageous is it to have, the quarterback and running back talent that you guys have had in this recent run at Ohio State, over the years?
Well, it's very helpful. I mean, anytime you have a good offense, you're probably going to be playing better defense. It's a lot of times you go up ahead and it turns into a one-dimensional game, right? They're on the field a lot, so it's not like 3-and-out, we're up again, 3-and-out, we're up again. So when you have a good offense and you have the talent like we do on defense, it helps a lot.
Front row right, Tim?
Yeah, Jeff, that one little rotation y'all did, where y'all got caught in the flip-flop and stuff. You're sitting in the press box. Are you screaming at yourself? I mean, what is going on there on that play? And did y'all get a little simpler after that, or maybe not?
I wouldn't say we got simpler. We kind of stuck to our plan. I mean, I was calm up there during that moment. I saw what happened. I knew what we did wrong. I clearly didn't coach it well enough. So I got on the headset, and we fixed it. We've been lucky so far this year. Not lucky, but our guys have done such a good job of not having that happen, and it was just one of those moments. I just wanted the guys to know we're okay. We're going to get scored on. We're going to make mistakes, and they made a play, right? And we just can't let it happen again. When mistakes happen in a game like that, you can't let it happen again. And that was my message to them, and we fixed it. And going forward, hopefully that won't be an issue.
And the other thing, going into this game, obviously Chase had a hell of a game against Wisconsin first time around. Y'all know that, they know that and stuff. And y'all did a great job of moving him up and down the keyboard, so to speak. how do you play that now, knowing that they know some of the, I don't know if tricks is the right word, but some of the matchups y'all tried to generate? How do you play that now? Because, you were in the NFL where you played a team at least twice every year. How do you play that from being a little different the second time around?
Well, I think every game you evolve a little bit. So I think each game you look at an opponent and they do things differently. But I think when you take as much data as we have and you find out what are they really good at and what do we think they'll do against us, those are the things you really look at. I mean, some defenses are way different than us, so you don't really look at some of those games. So you really got to think. You can't look at everything, because then all of a sudden I won't sleep at all and you'll start seeing ghosts, right? Because there's a lot of tape right now and a lot of plays. So you got to stick to what you do best. You got to look at what they do best and how you feel they'll attack you, and you got to prepare hard in practice.
Another quickie, J.K. and Jonathan Taylor, you've seen J.K. in practice and watched a little video, I'm sure, here. You've seen Jonathan Taylor probably in your dreams or nightmare. But how do they compare? How do they compare, in your opinion?
I don't want to compare the two. I think they're both really, really good football players. I've seen J.K. a lot. I can't say enough about him. Again, I'm not like up here promoting guys today, but J.K.'s a really good player, and he is an unbelievable person. And you guys probably all know that, which makes it all even better, because there might not be a better guy. And even being a defensive guy, like, I love being around that guy. So not comparing the two, Jonathan Taylor's really good, and we're going to have to play really good to stop him.
Front row middle, Joey?
Jeff, just to follow up on Chase Young, the way they were putting two guys on him and stuff against Michigan, you said it kind of creates opportunities for other guys. So as a coordinator, is that a situation you don't mind being in if they put two guys on Chase? Would you rather have him freed up? I guess, how do you kind of...
Yeah, I wish it would be one-on-one every single time, but no, it can be very beneficial. We have to do a good job of coaching that. If we see they're doing something to stop them, then we need to do something to counter them. And there's ways to do that. You only have so many guys, right, to block with. So if they take too many and put them over on one side, there's going to be less on the other side. So then we have to win those battles, or we have to create as coaches. So we need to see that in the game, and we need to continue to adjust and try to keep people on edge.
And final questions, third row right, Rob, from the dispatch.
Yeah, real quick, one more on Chase. Was this, what they did to him, was that something they just did better than other teams, or did other teams not try that? Why?
Teams have tried. And again, I mean, I think Chase had some good rushes in the game as well. It's not like the whole entire game they completely took Chase out, because they didn't. I mean, he had a bunch of pressures, he had a bunch of tackles, and he hit the quarterback, which is another reason. I think at the end of that game, you guys mentioned, like, they were like 4 or 24 or whatever you said. We were hitting them. We were hitting the quarterback. We were hitting the receivers. Our guys played tough in that game. And there were some drops in the end of that game. And throwing the ball in the middle of the field against us is not easy, because if you catch it, you're going to feel it. And they felt it. And the quarterback felt it. So I don't want to look at this and say Chase I don't think they stopped Chase. I think they felt Chase. And I think at the end of the game, the result of the 4 for 24 had a lot to do with Chase and the rest of the D-line. So I'm excited to see him in this game, and hopefully we'll get other opportunities. But I appreciate you guys, and hopefully I'll see you next time.
Oh,
we got? Said last question.
Wait a minute. Follow-up. Award season, Royals Award. What do you know? Congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you know about it? What does that entail for you?
I have a lot of respect for college football coaches. It's an honor to be on that list. To me, it's a compliment to our whole entire defensive staff. So I appreciate those who voted, and we'll see what happens.
What does it look? What's the logistical thing for you?
You'll have to ask Jerry on that one.
And then last one.
Sorry, Jerry.
No, that's good. I got it.
Do you want to come? Would you like to come with me? My wife would be mad,
I'll
but
carry the briefcase. It's a long time since Ohio State head coach won Coach of the Year. Who deserves it?
who deserves head coach of the
Who
year?
deserves it this year in your
In my opinion,
yeah, and why? The why is the important part.
yeah. One, I think it's Ryan Day. And again, this isn't like Jeff Hafley promotes the world today. First-year head coach. Takes over in a job that obviously one of the best jobs there is, but first-year head coach goes undefeated through the regular season. Has some things he has to go through during the season, the way he handled it, the way these players play for him, the way these players care about him. Take out the record. the way he treats these players and this staff, and the way these players play for him, and the way these coaches coach for him, and then combine that with the record, I don't think there's a better coach in the country. And you can debate me on that, but that's how I feel.
Coach, we do have one more question.
Gosh, Jerry. No.
This is the last one.
I'm just kidding. I just eventually I gotta go back and watch tape.
Yeah, I know.
We couldn't be a day without a question.
I know. You talked a lot about the complementary nature of
Yes.
offense and defense together. From your defensive standpoint, how would you describe the pressure that this offense, with the way Ryan and everybody calls it, the talent that this offense has, what's the pressure that they put on a defense every game?
It's explosive. They can throw it. They can run it. The quarterback can keep it. And they can score really fast. I always talk about eliminating explosives, right? If you try to just eliminate explosives on him, he can also pound you. And he's proven that. And then he's really good in the red zone. He scores a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. And he can get on you fast. And if he gets on you fast, you're in trouble. Because we've seen those 24-point quarters, those 28-point quarters. And that where I think it's complementary is he scores quick. We hold him to a 3-and-out. They don't have much time to adjust on the sideline. He gets right back out there. He scores quick. If we can go another 3-and-out, that's what I'm always saying. We got to go 3-and-out again. We got to go 3-and-out again. Just keep giving him the ball. Without them having much time to adjust, that's stressful on defense right there. That's why I think it's complementary football. So then all of a sudden you look up and it's 21-0, and you're sitting there and you haven't had time to think of what just hit you. And that's what he does. Another reason he should be the coach of the year.
Thanks, Jeff.
Folks, we'll talk about awards and awards travel on Sunday. I'm just focused on the big game this week right now. We'll focus on awards travel on Sunday. Just trying to get us through this game. Rob, he'll be in Little Rock Monday nights and Tuesday half a day. Oh yeah, baby. The 5 finalists are all that's one. Carolina, Today. Say what? Not the Jets. Everybody else not today. Not our house. Not this jungle. Welcome to the jungle. We got a funny game. This week, go into the bullpen. On short notice, another guest didn't show. Welcome aboard, Bruce. Pretty big guy. All right, folks, we're gonna go 6 minutes max with Davon. Opening up right now. Front row left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Devon, is it possible for the defense to do better against Jonathan Taylor than you guys did the first time? Because I imagine holding him to 52 is not easy.
We always have room to improve every week. I mean, that's kind of our goal every week, just to get better each week and trying to clear up the things that we that we did a little bit wrong during the games.
Front row, middle, Dave from 24/7 Sports.
Devon, usually D tackles don't get the stats. They might get some recognition. You're getting both this year. A lot of people recognize you for your good play, and you have 5 sacks. I think that's pretty rare for a defensive tackle. Just speak about that a little bit, and the fact that you're actually getting some stats to go with just clogging up the middle in there.
I mean, I'm just blessed. I mean, to be able to do that. I mean, it kind of just comes to me during the games. I mean, I work on it during the week and through practice and whatnot, and it's kind of working for me in the game.
I was gonna say, how much have you worked on your pass rush skills since you've been here? Is that the biggest improvement you've made?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my biggest improvements. I mean, I really worked on it really hard throughout the off season, this past off season, and then throughout the season so far. So I feel like it's showing a little bit.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
What is the challenge in trying to slow Jonathan Taylor?
Making sure he doesn't run the ball. I don't know.
I mean, is there something that you have to do with him as opposed to other good running backs? What kind of makes him special that you guys really have to be on guard for?
He just really quick. And he can read the holes very well. I mean, he's very patient in the backfield. So trying to knock back the line of scrimmage is kind of how we plan on disrupting his vision a little bit.
Front row right, Tim from Lettermen Row.
Yeah, Vaughn, I was asking Jay Sean this yesterday, but following up with you, what has been the secret to you guys being up each week this season with, it seems like very little drop off from a consistency standpoint as you look back on it? Some other teams you've played, through the years. What's been y'all's secret, you think?
Hello.
Tim, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Tim Lewis, as a matter of fact. Tim Lewis, the electronics technician. Go ahead, Devon, I'm sorry.
Sack goal, what was reasonable for you?
I wasn't really trying to set a goal for that. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I'm just trying to be as good of a player for my team as possible. That's kind of was my biggest goal.
Is that because, like, you keep getting asked about this, but that's not really the main role or main priority for you is to get sacks, and they might not come consistently, like you're a run stopper, right? Isn't that your main job description?
I mean, I guess for the most part, I mean, just being the nose guard in general, I feel like that's your main goal, or taking on double teams, or trying to free up other people on the line of scrimmage. But like I said, I mean, it just happens. I mean, I wasn't really planning on or anything. I was just trying to be consistent and good at my job.
And final questions, front row left, Doug from Cleveland.com.
Tomorrow is the year anniversary of the news conference when they announced Coach Day was taken over for Coach Meyer. Can you what do you remember of how you felt on that day, and when you think about everything that this program and this team has done in the year since, how would you reflect on what you've done with the first-year head coach?
So when we first heard about it, I mean, we were pretty excited. I mean, obviously, Coach Meyer was going through some things, and we wanted him to be healthy for himself and for his family. And having him step in here and do the things that he's done so far this season is really spectacular. I mean, you couldn't really not too many people expected that out of him. And the fact that he's came in here and been such a good head coach for us has really showed a lot to us and made us trust him more.
What does it take, though, for the players? Lots of times when there's a coaching transition, a team has trouble. What did you guys have to do as players and as leaders to make sure that you guys could make that adjustment?
I think kind of the biggest thing for that aspect would be like the fact that he was already here. I mean, if we just had a brand new coach come out of any random place, that'd have been a lot different. But the fact that he was already here, most of the guys knew him already, kind of make it easier to transition.
Davon, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
No problem, thank you.
Excellent response in a little crisis management situation there.
That was
Tim?
46 8 beat batters.
I'll tell you guys, thank goodness this wasn't transcribed. In a miss.
That's a better analogy than my. You just said the players, but I'm extra. Double A.
Also, there's no person in this room who has to die on the
Oh, no, it's expensive.
Who's in charge of make sure this fresh battery?
Tim.
Award for something that
Actually,
like you started the fire and then you put it in your award by putting it in. Yeah. Somebody's seriously at 4 to 6 A to B. I said there was 4 to 6. It's double A to double A.
Hey, so Razor, do we do interviews tomorrow after practice, or do we just want to go home and eat Thanksgiving leftovers?
Ladder. Most staff's going to North Carolina.
Who's going to North Carolina?
Wagon and Murph.
Why?
Basketball game.
We get interviews today? 2:30?
We got here late, just gonna do a manager already saying, I'm the only one here. All those other losers are football.
We're at the Westin this week. Yep. Like, we'll leave here at noonish, stop at the hotel, getaway car. Get there, we'll be there at 3. They don't listen.
You get bus over?
Yeah.
No charter bus?
No, we always like the bus over.
Leave when you want to.
Because otherwise you bus 30 minutes down to Rickenback, it takes 60 minutes to unload, go through all you gotta go through.
Checkpoint charge.
Then you gotta land at the airport.
We did. No, we'll fly back from Indy. We get a Indianapolis 500 racer, what do they call it?
Yeah, well, it's a two-seater car.
A little 8500 car.
Street car.
It's
pretty sweet.
Of the city, and the police escort starts there.
So can we follow you? Do we get this in school?
Yeah, will that help us?
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, text us when you're leaving.
You got draft, what is draft behind you guys?
The other big Ryan Day, Paul Chris get out and ride in the back seat. Jerry.
Oh, right.
Like, remember Urban did that?
Yeah. As I always say on every trip I go to Indiana, I am anxiously awaiting the day that
Good,
Connor Bailey.
I just rather.
Lucky you survived that one.
One for Indiana, the other one is in college.
Slippery noodle, Friday night.
That's where Jeff Snook met his first wife. That's where Jeff Snook met his first wife. I was with him.
It's not.
8500.
It's something more than that.
I'm a
It's a little bit of more. It's bigger than that.
No, the interstate.
Chase Young was defensive player of the year. You know, the other first team guys. This Iowa guy.
Oh, there's one next
You
week.
know, whatever. Maybe the linebacker. He has more like, he broke this record. He's in the Heisman conversation. It really wasn't a decision. Yeah, he could see he's the 8th Ohio State player to win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think it needs that. I think it's that. Just needs to.
I checked my phone last year, and it was here. It was
It shouldn't be a high thing, but I feel like it's worth it.
Highway failure. Yeah, like it is. Highway failure.
All right, folks, we're gonna go about 6 minutes with wide receiver Austin Mack. Open up the floor far left, Mitch from the Associated Press.
Hey, Austin.
Describe what you felt when you saw Justin laying on the ground after he was hurt and didn't get up immediately.
I was like, dang. So I just caught the ball from him. You know, obviously, I think every Buckeye Nation, we was feeling a little iffy, but I knew Chuck was going to come in. He was going to be able to hold it down, no matter what Justin was going through, if it was serious or not. I knew Chris Chugginoff was going to be able to come in and do his thing. So I was glad to be able to see him come back in the game and be fine. But it was definitely a little scary at first.
Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Just how much personally are you looking forward to playing in a game where weather won't be a factor?
I was just thinking this week, I was like, I don't know what's better, either playing for rings or being able to play inside. Even practicing inside all week, it's going to be exciting. Clear weather, playing against a team that we already beat, but knowing that we have to worry about the elements, I'm excited. So.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
Yes. How would you describe your year? You've obviously dealt with some injuries, and how special was it to have that touchdown on Saturday?
I'd say it's been an adversity. It's been a ride up and down. But, I mean, the Buckeyes are 12-0, and I've done everything I can for my team. I think, I'm having a lot of momentum right now. But being able to score in the game, I mean, it's remarkable. Being able to I was actually the check down for that play, too. So to even receive the ball on that play was great. Be able to do something with it. So they were going to have to hit me kind of hard for me not to score on that one. But it was great. It was good. It was a great moment, and ready to finish the season off right.
Second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
They just asked everything I wanted to ask. So I'll say Justin Fields, after the Wisconsin game the first time, said felt if the weather was right, they could have scored 50 on him. Do you feel like this is that kind of opportunity?
I think it's, without any elements, gives us a chance to hold on to the ball a lot better, be able to throw the ball a lot better, and be a little bit more dynamic. I mean, that's in any case. I think we're going to do just fine. I think we'll be able to score a lot of points. But as long as we handle our business and we play great, I think we'll do just fine.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
What does Ryan Day bring to this team? What has he brought to this team? How relational is he? Is that been an important part of the glue on this team?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Coach Day, man, he's a great dude just personally. I can go in and talk to him. As I know, I do a lot of stuff off the field. As a man, he loves to sit down and talk to me and open up. His office is always open. He says, just come in and hang out. You don't even have to talk to me. Just come in and hang out. I want to be able to be with you guys. And he's just a great guy, period. As a coach, man, he's a fighter. I mean, that's been his motto all year. But he's really about it. I mean, there's times where you can just see the passion and joy in his eyes. I mean, even after this past win, it's great. And he's a great leader and inspirationalist. So I love being able to play for this guy, and he's a great coach.
Front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
Do you feel like the elements at times have held the passing game back in any ways here in the recent weeks, and is that why you're looking forward to being in more of a controlled environment?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. For Justin, for us, even our running backs, it makes it challenging. But being able to not have any issues is great. Everybody can just relax and be able to, just can rip the ball how he wants to, and it's not cold out, indoors, so it's going to be fun.
And right next door, Doug from Cleveland.com.
Austin, when you look back on a year ago and when Coach Day took over for Coach Meyer and all the things you just said about Coach Day, did you know it would be like that? Or did you have some question when you guys found out there was going to be a coaching change? What'd you think?
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, last year he just stepped into, a program that wasn't his. He wasn't able to be, himself like he is now. So you still saw a guy that was in place, Coach Meyer, in his program. When he took over in the spring, you could see it still, like Coach Meyer field, but then eventually he just took off, and it was his program. The things he did it's a lot different, but still distinct to things Coach Meyer did. It's crazy to see how he's developed in his first year as a coach. And like I said earlier, I mean, he's a great guy, great coach, and love to be able to play for him.
Just to look back very quickly, I know a lot of Buckeyes could say this in recent years, but still, what's it like to be undefeated against Michigan in your career?
Oh, man, it's great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, there ain't words to it. And, forever, I can never say I lost to Michigan. Like, forever. I mean, even if it gets to a time where it's switched, but I'm saying I got 4 gold pants. I mean, everybody I've played with I got 4. And it's just real. Like, I don't know. It's bragging rights. I love it. And it's dope. I don't know what to say, man. It's dope.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
All right, folks. We're going to open up the floor for quarterback Justin Fields for a few minutes. Front row, middle. Dave?
Justin, I noticed during the pregame show, Matt Leinart did an interview with you, and he asked you, do you have a chip on your shoulder? Do you play with a chip on your shoulder? And you kind of surprised me. You said, no, I don't play with a chip on my shoulder. Despite being such a big-time recruit, you did have some naysayers coming into the season. I was kind of surprised to hear that you don't play with a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people that doubt you. So I mean, you just have to get used to it and just don't worry about the outside people. Just play your game. So I'm not really worried about what the outside people really have to say. I just go out there and play the hardest I can.
I know you're focused on the game right now, but as you reflect on the regular season you had personally, what goes through your mind?
I still have room to grow. That I still have room to improve. So I'm just going to focus on getting better each and every day.
Third row left. Dan from 11 Warriors.
Justin, I know you said last week you had to go through a lot of treatment during the week. Just what are the different things you have to do in terms of taking care of your knee and making sure that you're good to go on Saturday?
I just come in every morning, do different exercises with the trainers and just try to
I guess ice it a lot and just do different exercises that help strengthen my quad and my knee to just get it back right to normal.
Is it something you think about at all when you're in the game or on the practice field, or do you kind of just block it out of your mind when you're out?
And I think practice, you have to kind of think about it more because it's not actually the game, but the game, when you're in the game, you can't really think about your knee. You just have to go out there and play your game.
Second row left, Steven from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Justin, when you first met Garrett Wilson, like, I guess, what were those conversations like?
I don't even remember the first time I met Garrett, really. I don't know if it was like, yeah, I have no idea, like, when the first time I met him, but, I mean, Garrett's always been a cool guy. He's always been a great football player, so I'm just happy to have him on the team.
He said, like, we asked him a couple weeks ago, he said you guys met when you guys were moving in back in January, and that there was a moment where you guys were sitting in the back of his parents' car.
Oh, yeah, that actually was the first time we met. Now I remember, but, yeah, I just met his parents. Got a ride over to the stadium where I went to go eat with the freshmen, so just talking to him and his parents, I knew he was a great kid, raised by great people, so he was just fun to be around.
What did you guys talk about?
Nothing really. We were just making conversation, nothing specific.
Front row left, Mitch from the Associated Press.
Justin, when you were down on the field in the third quarter and not getting up, can you describe what was going through your mind? Did your life flash in front of your eyes, your football life?
Nah, I was just focused on getting off the field because my dad always told me when I got hurt as a kid playing football when I was younger, he just always told me to do whatever you can to get off the field. So I was really trying to get up and get off the field, but I couldn't walk. So I just stayed down and then talked to the trainers, and as time went on, the pain got less and less. So I knew I just had to throw on the bigger knee brace to go out there and finish the game.
But you didn't have any real idea when you were down how serious it was. Were you thinking, oh my gosh, is this the season?
Nah,
I mean, what, you didn't,
I don't really.
You didn't have those thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have like negative thoughts like that. I mean, I just was hoping I could get back on the field, and I knew how big the game was. So really, it was going to be kind of hard, like a big injury for me to not actually get back out there and play. So I really wasn't worried about the injury. I was just worried about getting back on the field as fast as possible.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Justin, had you experimented with any of those other knee braces last week before the game? Had you had that big one on before?
I had the big one on for Tuesdays and Wednesday practice, and then I wore the one I started the game off with on Thursday, so I was just kind of getting used to those.
And this probably is just annoying to talk about knee braces, but like, do you think that that big one limits you in some way? Are you comfortable with it?
Yeah, it definitely limits you from running, but at the end of the day, you have to stay safe when you're behind the pocket. So it's kind of it's either you want to be limited or you want to be safe. So you kind of just have to know what's more important.
Front row left, Doug from Cleveland.com.
Justin, we're asking you all these questions, and you just seem to take it in stride that maybe if you get hurt, that's just part of being an athlete, and you have to deal with it. Is that how you really think about it? That it's not that big a deal, and this is just what it means to be an elite athlete. That this is part of it.
I mean, I just go about life. Pretty much everything happens for a reason, and God has a plan. So when bad things happen in my life, I really don't stress over it. I just kind of go with the flow and just lean on God to help me out. So I don't really get sad or down about things. I mean, if I would have tore my ACL, I would be the same way right now. So that's just how I go about life in general, really.
And with what you guys have coming the rest of the season, it probably looks like that you'll play indoors the rest of the year.
Yeah.
This offense, how much do you feel like it might be built to be a team that could succeed offensively in perfect conditions?
I don't really think that like the weather really affects our offense. Really, of course, if it may rain, we might have to run the ball a little bit more. If it may snow or different weather conditions, but I feel like the offense will pretty much be the same as it was at the beginning of the season or these past few weeks. Really, I don't think the indoor weather will really change our offense and how Coach Day calls the plays.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
Yeah, Justin, how is the knee now, and what are your thoughts on whether it might affect you this week?
Yeah, I mean it hurts right now, of course, but I'm just gonna try to get in the training room as much as possible and try to get back by Saturday.
Any concern it'll affect you on Saturday?
I mean, in my mind, I'm playing on Saturday, so I don't care how much it hurts. I'm playing whether it hurts or not, really. So. Yeah.
Right next door, Joey from the Dispatch.
Do you think you'll have to wear the bigger brace, or do you not know yet?
I'm gonna wear it this week.
And just following up on some of the stuff about playing indoors, it seems like the wind and rain would make it much harder to pass on some of the deep ball stuff. Does that have an effect? I mean,
Yeah, it definitely has an effect. I mean, I think the ball to Garrett Wilson, the deep post I threw this past weekend, I think the wind definitely affected that ball. So I'm just glad he was able to track it. But I think it slowed it down a little bit. So just being indoors, it'll definitely affect the ball. But again, I mean, both teams have to play with the conditions, so I'm not really worried about like the really conditions like that. Coach Day always says just handle it better than the other team does, and that's what we have to do every game.
what about that pass to Chris Olave? Kind of, I think it was like in the first quarter. Or first
I don't think it
half.
was that windy on that drive. I think the wind was going with it, so the ball really didn't affect that ball. So, yeah.
Front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
400th question about the Braves, but you said it limits you as a runner. Do you feel like it provides maybe extra stability in passing as far as plant leg? Does it help you there at all?
It doesn't like. It just. I just feel more secure with it on, especially with my knee being as it is right now. But yeah, I definitely can't run as fast, and I definitely won't be able to be as mobile. So, but I know the most important thing is just being safe back there and just staying healthy. So, not saying that I need to use my feet to win the game, but I just have to wear it just to keep my knee safe.
Ryan Day has talked multiple times about being impressed with your toughness, but I think you said something after the game about the expectation he has as far as your toughness. Was there something, as you guys are getting to learn each other, get to know each other, did you feel like you had to kind of raise your level or show him something there? Or are you kind of trying to prove a toughness to your coach in some ways?
No, not really. I'm just really trying to prove it to my teammates. I mean, I think, and the coaches really, I just feel like everybody needs to know, and I just being a leader on this team, I feel like me showing the toughness, that'll bring out the toughness in them. So if they see me being tough, then that'll make the overall team better and be tough, and then we'll be better overall. So that's kind of why I do what I do, really.
Last couple questions. Front row right, Tim from Lettermen Row.
Yeah, just real quick, you're not, probably weren't aware of this, but I mean, a lot of people think that play, you come out of the tent with your new brace on, you go back in the game, and then you basically execute one of the more remarkable plays in Ohio State-Michigan game history. What was it like being in that moment? And as you look back on it, how remarkable was that play?
Looking back, like during it, I really didn't think of it as that much, but like actually looking back on it, it was definitely a remarkable play and a magical play. So, but actually, like after it happened, it really didn't hit me like that. It was the first play that I came back in. I was just got in the game and started playing football. So, but not till after the fact it happened. Until after the game was when I actually noticed, like, wow, it was actually like the first play I was back in. So
Yeah, and then post game, first time you guys played Wisconsin, you remember saying that you thought y'all could have scored 50 if the weather had been better.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still kind of stand by that? Obviously, this will be a different challenge. Yeah. What is it that just really got going for you guys as that game went along?
I just think the energy we brought to the table, and then how well our defense was playing, and Chase was, of course, went off that game. So just the creating turnovers, what Chase did, and the defense did, and I think the offense did a good job rolling that game.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, final question. Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
Yeah, one more technical question about the knee. It affects your running, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look like it affected your throwing in that game, but does it? I mean, it's a plant leg. Do you see anything? Is there any pain?
I don't think it affects throwing at all, to be honest with you. And then, I mean, in the game, you can't really worry about what's on your body. You just have to kind of go out there and worry about scoring and putting points up on the board. So just having the stuff around, like knee brace or different shoulder brace or whatever, I don't think that affects playing. I mean, it might to a little extent, but at the end of the day, you have to go out there and make plays. So, and that's what I feel like our whole team has to do, really. So.
You don't have to worry about throwing off the back leg or anything?
Nah.
Okay.
Great. Justin, thank you very much.
Thanks.
quarterback Jeff Okudah will open up the floor, front row right. Bill from the Dispatch.
Hey, Jeff. Jeff Hafley said he believes you're the best cornerback in the country, thinks you should win the Thorpe Award. How would you describe your season in light of the fact that teams aren't challenging you as much as most, you think? And how do you kind of cope with that part of it?
I think the season just been great. Just getting a chance to play with Damon his last season in Jordan. And I think that in January we set a goal, and that was to bring BIA back. And that's what we've just strived to accomplish the whole season. And so just getting the accolades, being ranked #1 pass defense, whatever it is, I think that it's just kind of been surreal how the season's played out.
Do you expect Sean to be back this week?
I definitely expect him to be back this week. I know he doesn't like sitting out, and it was hard not having him out there with us last week.
Fourth row left, Andy from the Lantern.
Yeah, Coach Hafley said that you guys, when teams go across the middle against you guys, they feel it. Like you're going to come across the middle to catch a pass. What allows you to maintain that physical mentality in the second half?
I think he just really preached that to Jordan in our defensive meetings to make sure that if teams want to throw seam routes, that they have to feel it every time. So I know last game you saw DPJ kind of start to maybe like shy away from the contact, and you saw some drop balls. So I think Jordan's doing a really good job of enforcing his presence in the middle of the field.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Jeff, how impressive is what Damon has been doing with that cast all season and playing through pain and everything else that goes in just playing for him right now?
I think it's really commendable what he's been able to do, play through a lot of pain, putting the team before himself. He's been in a lot of pain this year, and I think for him to go out there and have his best season yet with the circumstances, I think it's really crazy, and it's just a testament to the brotherhood that this team has.
Have you played with somebody who is a better trash talker than Damon?
I don't think so. He's always going. Sometimes we got to like tell him to calm down, but I think that he kind of sets the mentality for the defense, really even the whole team. So, I mean, without him, I think we'd be a whole completely different team.
Third row left, Dan from 11 Warriors.
Jeff, when Michigan went down the field, scored on you guys, opening drive, and obviously had some success throughout the first half, what do you feel like you guys did as a defense to keep your composure and make sure that things didn't balloon out of control?
I think something Coach Day told us before the game is like in a heavyweight fight, you're going to get punched a couple times. So, I mean, in games like that, you can't really expect to just have clean shutouts every time. Some teams are going to have their talented too, so they're going to throw their punches. So it's really about being able to stay level-headed, respond well. And I think you saw that second half. I think he was 4 for 25, whatever that number was. It was. I think that it just showed our resiliency.
Obviously, you're used to playing with Damon and Sean. When you're out there later in the game and Seven and Cam and Amir are out there, does it adjust anything that you have to do when those guys are out there instead of Damon and Sean?
No, nothing really for me. Just being a good leader for them. They know that Ohio State's always next man up mentality. That's one of the core values of the program. So I think they knew that the challenge was going to be big, so they had to respond well.
Second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
Jeff, with Sean out and Michigan having some success in that first half, what was it like when you guys go to the sideline after a Michigan possession? How much is it? Is it chaotic? Like, what are you being told? How did you guys get things righted?
I think it's just about, like I said, staying level-headed throughout the whole thing. We didn't really want to. We didn't. We didn't really want to get too low on ourselves. We knew what our defense was capable of doing, so really just rallying the troops and coming out the next series responding well.
What did you think of Cam and Seven and Amir?
I think given the circumstances, they did a great job. Stepping up for a player like Sean is never going to be easy. So for them to go out there, you saw Amir with a big fourth down stop, interception. I think they put on film what they're capable of doing.
Fourth row right, Rainier from Detroit Free Press.
You guys have outscored your conference opponents 436 to 116. Are you surprised by how much you've dominated them? And do you think you carry an intimidation factor at this point into games?
I wouldn't say that we're surprised. I know we put a lot of work into it this offseason of just getting things right that hampered us last season. So for us to have the dominance, like you said, it just speaks to the work that we were putting in. And now it's about finish the rest of the season with that same kind of dominance.
Do you think you guys have that intimidation factor at this point? I mean, do you think when you line up across the teams, you sense that they know what's coming?
Yeah, I think just because we put that on tape, I mean, teams watch film same way we do, so they're not just reading articles. They actually have to like watch what we're doing, and I think when you watch that, you can respect it.
Second row middle, Bruce from Sports Illustrated, Maven.
Jeff Hafley was in here a while ago. He said you should win the Thorpe Award. He says you're the best cornerback in the country. I wonder if you, given how he coaches you, if it surprises you that he's that complimentary. Do you get that kind of reinforcement from him as you're playing? He went and talked about times you've been thrust into situations like Penn State where you played in a spot of the field that you hadn't played all year because they wanted you on Hamler. Just your reaction to him saying those kinds of things about you.
I think for me, it's just really big just to get a compliment from Coach Hafley. I know he's seen his fair share of DBs, so for him to just speak that highly of the way he think I played, it's big for me. It just really makes me want to continue to work and just make him proud.
What would it mean to you to win that award, to be recognized the best cornerback in the country?
It'll be big just to be recognized as among the top DBs that came through out here. Winfield, Malcolm Jenkins both won the award, so I think just be a third winner of the Thorpe would be really big for not just me, but the university.
Second front row left, Doug from Cleveland.com.
Jeff, obviously you guys have a lot of business in front of you still, but as you stand here with your 3 seasons at Ohio State, with being a Thorpe Award finalist and being on an undefeated team, just how do you think it's worked out? Your decision that you made to leave Texas to come here, how does it feel at this point in your career?
It feels really good. I'm really glad that I made the decision to come to Ohio State. I think what's crazy is that JK's having a lot of success, Chase is having a lot of success, so my class has been relatively successful. And I think that it kind of just shows that you can go out of your state and make that decision to kind of travel far, take that risk, and it'll really pay off for you.
And final question, front row right, Tim from Lettermen Row.
How weird, strange is it to be playing a same team 6 weeks later? I mean, for you, I mean, y'all have never done that, in your time. How strange is that to be getting ready for a game like this?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about that last night, and like just watching film. It's kind of weird because we just played them maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I think you just have to kind of come with the mentality that you have to be really detailed in what you do. Technique has to be on point, and you have to kind of expect the unexpected. So if they throw out wrinkles in their offense, you have to just be ready for them and not get too out of control.
Yeah, first time around, y'all had pretty good fits, stopping Taylor in the run game and stuff. What can a team change, over 6 weeks from the last time you played them, Jeffrey, that could make a difference in a game like this? Are you playing that in your head too?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the possible outcomes. So I think for this week we have to really rely on the coaches, take in what they say, because I know Hafley's going to have a really good game plan for us.
Jeff, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. You guys take care.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jeffrey.